into place to explain its connection to the major events.
If I may just interject, my favorite is the native creation stories. The small
There's so
ones.
many of them.
But the few that I've even seen, the very bare little. I love everything about. I know I will. The more I learn
Because
about
you
that.
connect to the land, and they are all about connecting to the land.
It's a totally different. As I actually got to see a seminar where an English playwright presented a story, a fictional historical account of something that happened to some native children. I don't need to go into it, but and then a native woman author did her play of the same incident, and and I can say to you in a way that I couldn't say then that it was such an extraordinary difference in sophistication, to my mind, that it was like they didn't belong on the same stage. Here's this PhD scriptwriter, and it was so
Empty, dry, unimaginative, unfeeling.
what do they call that? Derivative.
Yeah.
In every way. It still appealed to me, like a TV show. He had me there, okay, but it didn't tell the story the way the native one did. It was so more. She was using like the finest language in the heavens, as an adequate way of treating something that represented a real, serious morbidity to real people. It was suitable and eminently suitable to tell that story, and it helped me to learn that it's about hearing these stories. It's about listening to the greatest storytellers we can find. And but anyway, I don't know those people, but it sounds like I could definitely hear more of that.
Well, perhaps those stories become from listening to the storyteller that lives here, not the storyteller that lives here. Because this connects you to everything. This connects you only to itself.
I think if I was stronger on that level, I would find it easier to tell people more about my story. So,
and maybe it's I like to play the drum.
I thought about the drum when you said that.
When you play the drum, the way I like to share with people the beginning of playing the drum, if people think you pick up the drum and you just keep playing it like that, but actually you put yourself in as fully as possible to every single drum beat. And when you begin, it's hard to pick up all those threads of yourself and to connect them to that drum beat. And so you begin, and there's lots of space between the drum beats. You don't hurry it. You don't rush it. You wait. You wait till that space inside you fills and connects. And when you're looking for words to tell the stories that you hold, you do the same thing.
Wow, thank you. Yeah. You work with people like that?
Yeah.
The way you put that was excellent. It just reminds me how, like, some people really respond well when things are put in the right words, with the right energy to respect what you're saying, because it's not just words, I understand. But
I listen.
You listen.
And
That's
then
really cool.
The words come that are needed for you.
Oh, that's great.
But
I definitely hear that.
I do. I work with people who people find me when they need to work with me, and they go on their way when they're done. And some people I've spent years helping, and some people it'll be a few months, and then they've gotten whatever they need at that time, and they go. And I never wanted. I have a hard time being formal about it, because I feel like when I'm able to offer something, it's a gift that comes through me. And so to show a little bit more of myself, I speak with spirits.
I got you. No, it's cool.
And I feel a lot of spirits.
Neat.
And it's when they ask me to be there for somebody, I'm there. And it feels almost a condition of the gifts that I carry, that I open and share. So that's what I do, and I've never put a price tag on it. I've never put a label on it. I want to be free.
Wow, that's very pleased to meet you. Sounds good. That sounds really not something to pass up, and not something to you know, you're not implying this, but not something to disrespect. And well, I'm listening to you. I'm getting a lot out of it. What you said about the drum beat and pulling threads together and giving yourself time between beats, and to feel that drum beat can really encompass what it needs to encompass, and if I may add my own words, kind of hold you there or stabilize you or whatever you're feeling you need that makes you. Maybe that's wrong. I don't know. But anyway, I don't know. But I get what you're saying. Like, is that something I'm free to dwell on, or is there like a wrong way to dwell?
You know what? There's no
'Cause I will
wrong way.
elaborate.
Like, it's like you come into this moment as you are.
Yes.
You hold what you can hold. You make use of what you can make
It's
use
not a
of,
test,
right?
or it is a test.
No, there's no. If like I feel like
Do you need some sun at all? Are you cool? Because I know it's cold and
no,
hot.
I'm good actually.
Okay.
I'm good. What I was going to say is the
You come to the moment, or you bring yourself. Sorry, I thought you were saying something like that. Yeah.
I used to be just like you are right now.
Okay.
and
Say it. Be honest. Be honest. No, I like that.
no, just
You're a wonderfully humble person. Just say whatever.
you're
comes to mind.
excited,
Yeah.
and it's like you're running ahead of where I am,
Okay.
and there's nothing wrong with that. But you'll hear better if you keep that quiet place inside yourself.
I hear you.
And that takes
Okay.
a long time to cultivate. So I
Okay.
get you. It's not.
Okay. Okay.
But all I was going to say is that when I can remember having opportunities when I got to speak with people that had walked just a little further upon the same path that I was on,
Yeah.
and the excitement and relief that I felt
Sure.
just being in their presence.
I
And
got
one
you.
particular man, this amazing African
Oh.
Mondoro, and just being near him without him even opening his mouth made me want to cry with relief, because the energy that he held was so healing in and of itself. And then when he began to speak, it's like I understood his words here, but up here I struggled with them, to hold them and to put them together in a way that honored what he was saying, because he came from such a different place within himself than I did at that point in time, that the words I had no problem understanding, but the depth of wisdom that gave birth to his words, I wasn't able to step into that place at that time to really honor his words. And so I carried them, and I carried them, and I thought about them, and I carried them, and I thought about them. And over time, I began to realize that I did understand. So I think that's the way it always goes. We get some pieces, and we carry them, and we work with them, and then we get some more, and we carry them, and we work with them. And
Well, if I may say, no one's ever given me any pieces, so you're like the first kind of person like that I've ever met. So I'm really, and I agreed with everything you said. It seemed like a very accurate not portrayal, but description of, and I found it very grounding. Thank you for that, for taking the trouble to tell me that, because I think that's a nice way of. I felt like, wow, you're saving me a lot of time.
well, and I think he did for me as well.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, almost all of my journey I did by myself.
Yeah.
And it was only when I got to a certain point along my own path that I began to get pieces from other people.
Okay.
And it's very hard to do this journey by yourself. It's like you're healing, you're trying to open up here and in here, and let go of a lot of your past all at the same time, and to make sense of it, to find what has substance and value from where you've come from. And and to carry the good,
Right.
find gratitude, like all of those things. That's a lot to do. And it's very hard to do that alone. And I would think sometimes, I'm an artist primarily, so, um, you know, especially when I was really in the worst, most difficult part of the journey for me, um, I never had the money to even go see somebody that could help with, because I have all these experiences with energy, I'd have all these experiences with um, things opening in me that I didn't know what to do with. And I think, well, there are people out there that know about this. And they always had, you know, high price tags attached to their time. I think, well, I can't afford to pay $300 or $200 for an hour with this person to figure this stuff out. Couldn't. And I always thought, when I get to the point where I can help somebody else, I'm not going to ask for what they can't give in order to help them. And I think, you know, the people that I know in the Native community, um, they're pretty amazing because they're very much like me. I know some medicine people, and um, if somebody offers them something for the work they do, they're very grateful to have it. If somebody can't give them anything and the work needs to be done, they do it anyway. And I love that. I think the world needs more of that. Yeah, so I try to do what I can where I am.
Yeah. And if I may say, I like to, sometimes I'll pick up a stone, or if I like a stone, I put it somewhere. I figure I've enjoyed the gift, I'll leave it under a tree or put some thought where I put it. You know, nature enjoys the aesthetic of it all. And sometimes I would think of, like, say, meeting someone like yourself, or, money wouldn't be the first thing that came to mind, only in this, not that it's not complete. I love what you said about you had the, I'll put words again in your mouth a little bit, forgive me, had the courage to kind of not go for the thing that you can, you had an appreciation for what you needed, that I'm sure you appreciated that it could cost a lot of money. Or you said, when you said that, the people, you found out the people that were doing it. So you had the mind to say, like, there are people who can do this for me. By the way, I'm amazed, as you were speaking, that you were so connected to what you needed. When you talk about being on the journey by yourself, it's really something. And to not go for something just because you could pay for it, in a way. I don't know, I'm not really explaining myself. It seemed very courageous to me. That here it is, but it just, maybe that wasn't the thing for you at the time, because you clearly found what you needed, right?
You know, I think you're probably right that it wasn't.
It wasn't necessarily a value judgment in itself, but it's like what you were kind of how you felt that was the way to go.
Well, when I look back and I think about it, which I really haven't done much of in the last many years, but
Yeah.
if I look back and think about those times in my life, and I look at those times with what I understand now, the gifts that make me who I am, compassion is a really big part of it. And if I look at those people that might have been able to help me with some of the understanding I was looking for, I'm guessing that they didn't have the compassion to root themselves in the world in a way that they were able to offer their gifts to the people that needed them the most. And it's not to say that the more people you can help, and we all have to eat, we all have to put a roof over our heads, so it's not a judgment, but I think that the people that I can respect the most that are out there doing this kind of work, formally doing work, whether they're energy healers or they're medicine people that put a shingle out or whatever it is that people are doing to say, hey, I'm here and this is what I do. Very few of them make sure that it's understood that if there's work to be done, they're willing to do it, whether or not the person can pay. And I kind of feel like I was looking at this, it's a little bit of a departure, but I was looking at this series of seminars offered by a very well-known Andean kind of medicine person. And I've always been curious about the way other cultures, other indigenous cultures approach connection to whether it's the stars or the moon or the river. Or
I'd love to hear more of that, but please continue. Yeah.
So I was looking at these seminars, and I was thinking they're actually quite intriguing. I would be very curious, and I read through to the part where they say the terms that they're offering, and it's several $1,000s to show up for this 1 week seminar in a very expensive location. So you'd pay, probably by the time all was said and done, $12,000 to spend a week with this guy. And I'm thinking to myself, it's the people that are often original and unique and trying to find their paths that need this work the most, not people that are curious and wealthy and kind of think it would be a lark to spend a week out in, I don't know, wherever. And I thought, this doesn't speak well. It's of this person's real intentions.
May I please say that I really appreciate your way of putting that, whether you call it an ethic or just the story of that process, that part of your life, and making that decision. I really appreciate that decision because that brought you here today. Because if I can benefit from being around you, then you're obviously at least in part doing your work, if not entirely so. And I feel as you talk that I feel like maybe this is an emotional part. I put myself in the position of that person quite easily that could probably benefit. I feel like a creative person. I've been feeling lately that I could use a little help. So I feel like I'm in a position to receive a little sustenance from the wisdom that be, for sure. And you seem like someone, like you said, like the first time you met someone, you were a little amazed or whatnot. But you said, stay quiet. And the more I listen to you, it feels absolutely needful in me. And but it's not just about me either. We speak so respectfully of the energy, and again, I may not use the right words, but the gifts and what needs to be done, and what can be shared, the spirit of that generosity and that integrity.
Well, just imagine if more people were able to trust what they felt, if more people were able to bring a compassionate heart, a wise heart to others, to the land, imagine what the world would be like. It doesn't, like if you go out into the world and you find one person that is hurting that you can help just a little bit, and their heart becomes a little lighter, more joy, more love, more capacity for love, more capacity for compassion enters the world. Imagine what the world would be like if we cared for each other like that. People, like I can see the turmoil, the pain shaking through your system.
Yeah, I could feel it too. Yeah.
Imagine if you didn't have to carry that.
Well, I call it shock, and other emotional factors, but that's a word. But I think I could sense that you're someone who could feel that, and it just, my body lets me feel things when it can, and I could feel it as I was talking. So I'm not sure what it feels like to you, but it probably would seem to someone like I clearly have a lot to say, or a lot of sadness or grief or whatnot. But without putting those words on it, because like you said, it vibrated.
Yeah. Well, if you're asking me to keep your privacy and not put words on it, which is fine,
Oh, I
then
don't
yes,
mind.
I would just say that you're vibrating with where you've come from, and it's
Yeah.
like if you listen to the river and you think about a river that has no rocks in the bottom and it runs smooth, and then you think about the river, same river but with rocks in the bottom, and the water shakes as it goes through, and I feel like your system is full of rocks that you're trying to find a way to let go of. And I also feel like sometimes you know yourself because of those rocks. And so it's like you try to get rid of them and then you take them back because they tell you who you are. And then you try to get rid of them and then you take them back. And it's to hold yourself in a place of love and acceptance with every single rock in your river, and to let it be okay that they're there, and to find a way to honor the gift that each one of them has brought to your life. That will let you eventually let them go. Does that make sense to you?
It makes sense to my heart. It makes sense to the part that's supposed to make sense to. Oh, and it does make sense to my mind as well. But most importantly, it speaks to my mind. And behind my heart is where I feel most sensitive. Back.
That's where we carry a lot of our trauma.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Well, I promised myself that I would spend a little time speaking to the river, so I'm going to do that. But I can give you contact information if you want it, and if you would like, I can try to. Hey, I can try to support you through a process that was actually. It was a native elder. His name is Isaac Days. He's an Ojibwe man, and he does this very simple process. Well, did this very simple process of working with people to help them to reconnect to themselves and to really everything. And it's based on the Ojibwe grandfather teachings. And it's a very simple thing, but if you bring your whole self to it, it's profound in the way it supports and helps you. So if I give you my contact information, you can think about whether you want to do that.
I'm kind of taking it all in still, but
Or you can just let this be what
yeah.
it is.
Whatever happens, I take, or I hope that I take everything that I need, and will make good choices if I need to.
That's what
Then
we all hope.
take another step. Yeah, take another
So
step.
let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Just one question. What do you want most for yourself right now? The honest answer, not the one you think you should have.
Happiness for myself and my family.
What does that mean?
Well, the first thing that springs to heart, it means a lot of what you were talking about. I think it's something for me to do for myself, for sure. And I find, if I may say, in coming to this particular area, which you will add a great deal to my sense of, for sure, I have found over the last little while, connecting to my heart needs a lot in different ways. So finding my love, finding my heart, or finding what I may have lost connection to, being easy on myself, dealing with the fear or doubt that comes along with that, and not really knowing maybe everything that I sometimes maybe should want, and maybe avoidance and things might come into that list as well. But healing always. And if I may finish that thought, it's just times that I've come out to these parts and felt a great deal of relief on my heart, and come home with what I want to bring when I come home, which is a healthy heart. I think, though, that the issues, ones that you rightly touch on, are so long-standing that, and I've worried for a while that I may just be getting temporary relief. And overall, in terms of my health, I can't, and please understand that any reluctance you may see in my body language means no disrespect. It's just probably a little bit of fear or whatnot.
Oh, I'm not
Okay,
taking it that way.
But okay, good. I have to stay open to things I may require at a deeper level, having not really had a lot of therapeutic, at least what I would feel competent therapeutic interaction. So it does speak very deeply to me. I appreciate your time. It's very touching.
Well, one day, I feel like one day if you keep on your journey and you keep growing, one day you're going to have a lot to say that the world is going to want to hear. So don't give up on that. Yeah.
A lot of times I don't exchange emails or take people's emails because it may be bad social skills, but a lot of times I don't end up making use of them, or because I don't have a lot of communication in my life with a lot of other people. But I've just chosen that for a time to some degree, but also I think
Hey, I don't need anything from you, and I don't want anything from you. So you don't need to. You don't need to take my contact information.
Okay.
There's no stress on you for any response.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you seem a little confused about what I'm saying, it's sometimes just over the years, and not you at all. I mean, I've noticed for the last few years as I've been healing a lot that for one reason or another I've had uncomfortable experiences with various women.
Yeah. Not
Yeah.
Tori. I have a life partner.
You've probably
and I'm
had.
not.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't mean you at all. I didn't mean you at all.
No, but I'm making it abundantly clear.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for a relationship.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not looking for.
Of course. Yes.
Anything really.
Yes. Good. And then, by the way, I never got that feeling. So your partner is very lucky at all. Believe me, I'm a little too aware of such things sometimes, because not with you at all. This whole conversation has been about everything it should be about, and I honor you. I only said that because I carry a certain amount of anxiety around that isn't, in some cases, is not going to be rational. It's just that it's happened enough. I never used to notice such things, and then women I was around on Salt Spring used to want to hug me a lot, and I never quite understood it. And sometimes I can't. And not you at all. It's just I don't have. Anyway,
you struggle for boundaries that feel comfortable with you. Yes. That's a typical issue for people that have had their boundaries really abused. And when I was younger, I used to get a lot of stuff like that from men. So
okay. Yes.
I get where you're coming from, and kind of nice to see the shoe on the other gender's foot. So woohoo!
I always thought, yeah.
But no, I mean, hell, women love sensitive men, and I'm sure if you can be quiet and hear them, and they're looking for something, they're going to want more of that. And I think that would be exactly why. And I think it's okay to be with people and hear people, and also keep your boundaries respectfully, right? Yeah, and to be able to clearly state them. So good for you.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I'm certainly not alone in that, as you rightly put up, said about females, and yeah, it's also, you talked about stones being useful. It's I think in many ways been one of the leading factors that have made me to look a little more honestly at myself. I never lost sight of the fact that, and not in a bad way, what am I doing or what am I not doing right in this situation? I mean, if I'm not responsible for what's going on here, then that's my biggest problem right there. So, obviously, people do learn to have pleasant interactions with lots of different people of the opposite sex.
yeah, although admittedly they can be a lot trickier, and it's yeah.
And to be fair, I mean, I've had my share of anger about the thing over the years, but also, I just, it's not an excuse, but I never really learned. They put me in a class of almost all girls once in grade 2 because I was considered so passive. And I think they made a mistake in some sense because I learned to be too passive around females. I wasn't, but at the same time, never really developed, never really had the kind of relationships I probably should have had to develop more maturity in my own right. So it was just all shyness and not avoidance. But
Interesting though. I mean, I have to question your thought that girls would be more passive.
know that I was assumed to be more
Oh,
passive.
you were
Yeah,
assumed to be more passive, so
because I was.
you,
Yeah.
but why would that have made you a better match for being with a bunch of girls?
I just think they noticed that I didn't have trouble getting along with them, and I didn't seem to need to be around a lot of boys. So I just was very
That's
shocked.
different.
I was very,
I think it might have been more your sensitivity.
yeah. Right, teachers always liked me because I was good at school, and they always like that, and they always like, oh, we like Landon. He's nice and quiet, and all this stuff. And the girls were all very nice for the most part, but yeah, it's interesting. As a writer, I reflect on things, and I like how you can see more looking back than you did at the time.
Yeah, you
And
can,
yet
but you still you have to sometimes have to question the lens you're looking through.
well, that's just it. I mean, I will always be probably shifting lenses because I grew up with one lens, turned on to the same setting all the time, which was acceptance of everything as normal. Yeah. But anyway, yes, you've taken. Thank you for